sense. The feminine says to herself all the time, this doesn't make sense. And if she's like trying to come into her masculine, she'll go, but, and try and justify it. But what the feminine does never makes sense. Never. To anyone else. When you change the bedtime, when you eat dinner as a picnic on the floor, when you like keep your kid home from school because you know they're just not right, or when you chuck a sickie yourself, or like whatever it is that you actually do, it doesn't make sense to other people. They don't get it. And you'll be able to tell me, like if I asked you, tell me the things that don't make sense to other people that make sense to you. You'd be like, all of these things, but I can't tell you why they make sense to me. They just do. And that is the feminine, okay? She knows inherently that she is like a goddess who has all the answers, but none of those answers make sense to anyone. And they never should. Sorry, I'm not meaning to shout at you. But your job isn't to make sense. And you're never going to, right? In that state. Whoa, this is dark. I think I used it in the summer. So what I want you to do, I don't actually normally tell you guys to do very many things. Like I'm not usually very dictator-like. I'm actually super anti that style. I just share with you my thoughts and then we go from there. But I want you to do more shit that makes no sense. It's like, you know, even if you're at work full time, okay, and you don't really want to be, but you know at this point it makes sense. You just know that it's something that you need to be doing, and you just do it, okay? It's like if someone goes, so heaps of the time when I was coaching people before, it was heaps of sleep stuff and eating and all that kind of jazz, okay? Like heaps and heaps and heaps of that. Like I would literally be talking about like how many meals of food a kid would eat in a day, like down to the like line. And there was people who would share with me like, oh, I feel tired thinking about it, like more than 3 times a day. It was crazy times, crazy. And they would say, they're showing these symptoms, should I take them to the doctor? It probably doesn't make sense to take them to the doctor, but I feel like I should. Bam! There you go. There's your answer. This foundation's very orange. But you know I like a tan look, so there you go. There's the answer. You don't need me to confirm what you need. You need to actually just do the things that don't make sense. They'll make no sense to anyone on, you know, it's like I think I got like the most views I've had in such a long time. I don't know if someone sent them around. I don't even look at my Instagram story views very often because that's just boring. But I have swiped back for something else and there was like crazy amount of views for me doing like a thing where my husband was like, hey, how'd you clean up dinner so fast? And I was like, I didn't fucking feed them. I actually didn't really feed them. I think I said that I like put food on a plate for them, but I didn't even really do that. It was very basic. And he was like, huh? And I was like, yeah. I know if my kids need dinner and I know if they don't, and I don't even think about it. It didn't even cross my mind that to someone else that would seem weird. And to other women, it blew their fucking brains out. Why would we give our kids dinner if we know they're not hungry? Like it's really common for my kids to eat at like 3 or 4 and like binge. Like my kids could eat like 6 carrots, 3 cucumbers, a couple of chicken kebab things at like 3 or 4 o'clock. Why would I cook dinner for them? They can have some like fruit and cheese. Okay, so it's really, my kids they don't eat like typical people either, right? Like they mostly eat a kind of okay breakfast, cooked-ish sometimes, not at the moment. And then and then they'll not eat again, really. Oh no, they have lunch boxes. Most of that shit ends up in the bin. It's such a fucking waste. It's such a psychological thing. Blah, boring. Anyway, so people's minds were blown by the fact that I didn't serve my kids dinner, and I often don't serve my kids dinner. Yeah, last week we had so many, like I bought like, oh my God, I look like an Oompa Loompa. I'll have to do something to fix that. You can just enjoy my orange face. And I just fed them hot chips for dinner because they'd eaten fine all day. And again, my husband was like, are you really just feeding them hot chips? And I'm like, yeah, who cares? Like, you know, if I've learned anything about food, nothing will make kids crave something more than depriving them of it. Same with an adult. If you really like something, go and buy 50 of it and eat it and eat it and eat it until you can't eat it no more. And then you won't care anymore. And so that's the whole point of what I was trying to chat about today is like it doesn't, whatever you're choosing, as much as possible choosing to not make sense to someone else. It's not your job to make sense in this lifetime to other people. It's your job to make sense to yourself, and not in terms of rational thought. And it's why, like, you know, when people say like, oh, my husband can't stand when the kids do this, or my husband can't stand when the kids are like that, or whatever. You know how there's some people who like say their husbands are super triggered by certain kid-like things. And I'm like, no, that's because like you guys are living in such a rigid masculine way that you're also on edge all the time. You're always under stress. Like you're always under like at the moment, I honestly couldn't think of anything worse than having to provide a meal at dinner time where we all have to sit down and try. But if your family's gone from each other for 5 days a week and you like sincerely miss them and you love those chats, then that's going to make perfect sense to you. But it doesn't make perfect sense to me. We all sat and ate breakfast this morning around the craft table. I was making like peg dolls and the girls were doing like stick on jewels. Seamus was writing about something, like it was just low key, but we were all together. And so it's not your job to make sense. Actually, I feel like the more confusing you become to other people, the more you're living in your feminine. And so the more you seem like an optical illusion, the more of yourself you're being. And the less focus you've put on the masculine. When you stopped looking at the masculine, you know, and so this is the thing, like when partners come home from work and they're like expecting their dinner on the table or however your family operates, we think that's what they're actually asking for, but what they're really looking for is your flow state. Like, how do you make this fun and joyful? Because they don't fucking know how. The masculine does not, it's not that they don't know how to have fun, but they're looking for you to provide the options. You know, where we are right now, it's gotten really sunny. So like, we'll eat outside more. Or sometimes I don't even give my kids, I do give them showers, but like, does it always have to be as like blah as you think it does? Like bedtime, okay? So when I had 3 really little kids, bedtime was like this, like bam, bam, bam. It was very regimented. And it felt fabulous to have that regime. Like everyone was in bed at 7. It was pretty tight. It was pretty processed and it felt fucking amazing. And then all of a sudden, your kids do hit a certain age where that feels like shit. You're like, I would rather fucking strangle myself than push everyone into bed at 7 p.m. And it's usually by the time that they're not actually ready to go to bed at 7, whatever that means, you know. And I actually have a client that I work with who cannot let go of specific bedtimes, even though her kids are indicating to her that they don't work for her. She's really stuck on bedtimes, and her and her husband, it's like their time, and they want to watch adult TV shows and things like that. That's okay. It's not like anything inherently bad, because if you love TV, like I kind of get it, but it's so stressful for them. Like, so the 2 hours getting everyone to bed, they're so stressed out, and then they're like fighting after that. And I'm like, can you, like, it's really, they're so locked in, they can't see it, no matter how many times I say it. I'm like, can you see how this doesn't function well, or this doesn't work? And can you feel that this is what's triggering you both off? But they want that time. And I feel like it's the feminine, you know, like my husband's really, like Eamon's really got to this point now where he'll like look at me and he'll go, and I'm sort of like watching, he can see me observing. This is probably only a recent thing, so we've been doing this a long time, and he only just get it. 12 years, right? And he'll look at me and he's like, what do you reckon we should do? And I'll just like, I'm like, give me a minute. And then he'll be like, he'll just like look at me and I'll be like, this is what we do. Or sometimes I'm like, oh, I know I should do this. Okay, so last night I knew that Mac wasn't feeling well. Not feeling sick. He's just got like a little cold, like a clear runny nose, and I could see his cheeks were a bit rosy. But my big kids were like, we got this new video game, we really want to play it, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh. So I have to like spend half an hour getting Mac to bed and then let you guys play this if I'm wanting to be that adaptable or whatever. And I was like, I can't be fucked with this. Mac, you go play video games with the kids, and everyone just go to bed super late. And so at like 9:30, so super late, I just like picked Mac up off the couch, like semi-comatose, and put him to bed. And then he slept till 8:30. He's not sleeping for like 15 hours at the moment, so that's only 11 hours. But I imagine then tonight he'll go to bed earlier and blah, blah, blah. So I just like roll with it. And that feels pleasurable and not stressful to me. But if that was to feel stressful and triggering to you, then you have to find another way. It's your job. And the ways that you find don't make sense to anyone. You're not going to find them in a book. You're not going to find them on Instagram. And you're not going to find them through random fuckers. You'll find them through people you know. I'm always like, go to people you know and love, observe what they do, try some of those things, see how they feel, roll with it. I think like genuinely, like sleeping should be more seasonal as well. Like as the weather starts to get warmer, my kids will stay up a bit later and they'll sleep in more. We have that flexibility. I know that not everyone does. So if you don't have that flexibility, then create flexibility in what feels right to you. So is it easier for your kids to go to bed earlier and get up earlier? Like play with it. Play with it. But stop trying to make it make sense. Like you don't have to turn to your husband or your partner or whatever and be like, all right, we're making a change. This is how we're going to do it. Like nothing worse for a marriage. Sorry. That was really negative. It's just a really unsuccessful way. It's just like, hey, babe, we'll aim for 8 tonight. That's it. Like, it's not... I think it's so easy to be like, here's the mathematical formula that fixes it all. No. It's just not. If you're on school holidays right now, like, just fucking flow. Just let it flow and let it go. And if you're not on school holidays, still find a way to flow and let it go. You know, it's like when people say to me, how do you get your kids to do chores without chore charts? Okay. Fuck, like chore charts is like my idea of hell on earth. Like even having to look at it, just so ugly. But my kids have been doing jack shit right now, and I've let them be really lazy. I really have. I don't know why. I've felt hustly and bustly, so I've done more. And that's felt fine. But this morning I was like, it's time to whip their ass into gear. I had them out gardening, watering, hanging out the washing, doing the dishwasher, and sometimes I pay them in like an Oreo or a Freddo Frog or whatever. Like, find the floaty shit that feels easy. Like, have a giant bag of lollies in the cupboard and use it to blackmail your kids so that you get shit done. Who fucking cares? I think, well, like, if you're like so grindy and making it difficult for yourself, then you're always trying to make sense. You're always trying to be the healthy mum. You're always trying to get it right. And that is a bullshitty, boring mum. And you'll look back in 20 years and go, why did I do that to myself? It felt like a war in Lord of the Rings with my kids. Like, who wants to feel like that? Nobody. 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 I'm going to shut up now. You're never going to make sense. The less you make sense, the more you're in your flow. Got it.